Hello there, everybody, and welcome to the Spanish GCSE and iGCSE video tutorial. So in this particular video tutorial, we are going to look at the speaking exam overall, and I'm going to provide a lot of tips for how to tackle the Spanish GCSE and iGCSE speaking exam, including the preparation time, how to boost your grades, and there will be something in here for every student, essentially. So, firstly, my name's Dhananjay Talwar, and I studied French and Italian for my MA at the University of Cambridge, graduating back in 2015. And I've been an educator ever since then, actually, mainly as a full time tutor. I have learnt over 20 languages to different levels, and that includes at least 9 to fluency, including Spanish, of course. It's something I love to do, something I'm really passionate about, and I equally like to inspire and motivate my students, make sure that they're aware of the benefits of learning languages and methods to allow them to learn languages efficiently while also having a lot of fun, and ultimately helping them to get to their target grades. And so I have helped more than 500 students already to achieve or surpass their target grade in GCSE or iGCSE exams for languages as a full-time tutor. And I have taught 8 languages so far to GCSE or iGCSE level, and several of those at higher levels too, and it's been a very rewarding journey. Right, so these are, as of August 2025, the Spanish GCSE and iGCSE exam boards. So there are 4 currently for GCSE Spanish and 2 for iGCSE Spanish. If you're a student, then you should recognize your own exam board here. And it is certainly beneficial to be aware of your exam board as early as possible, because there can be differences in the format and syllabus from exam board to exam board, slight differences. This particular video, though, is a very general tutorial looking at the Spanish GCSE or iGCSE speaking exam as a whole. And so the material in this tutorial will be relevant for all students, no matter what exam board they are studying. So, first of all, let's take a quick look at the different parts, or potential parts at least, of the Spanish GCSE and iGCSE speaking exam. So, this certainly does not mean that you will have to do all of these tasks. These are just the tasks that could possibly come up in your speaking test. And if you want to know exactly what will come up for your particular speaking exam, you need to be aware of your exam board and whether you're going to do foundation tier or higher tier, because all of those GCSE Spanish exam boards do have a distinction between foundation and higher tier. And the website of your exam board can be a very good place to start for more information like this. But the possible parts that could come up in your Spanish GCSE or iGCSE speaking exam include the role play, reading aloud task, photo card, and topic-based conversation or conversations. And now I do have separate videos which I've made on each and every single one of these tasks. So one video on the role play and how best to approach that, one on the reading aloud task and how to tackle that, another video on preparing for your photo card, and another video on techniques for your topic-based conversations. So I highly recommend viewing each of those videos as well, or videos for each of the parts of your particular speaking exam. Those should be really helpful too. Here, though, we're taking a more general overview of the Spanish speaking exam, and I'm going to give you tips on how to revise and how to make the most of your preparation time later on in this video too. So, more generally, the speaking exam is typically the first part of the Spanish GCSE or iGCSE exams for students. And for that, and for a few other reasons too, tends to be the most nerve-wracking part of the Spanish GCSE and iGCSE exams, in my considerable experience tutoring this for many students. That is partly because it is the first part of the Spanish GCSE and iGCSE exams, and for many students, it will actually be their first GCSE exam at all, the Spanish speaking test, which usually takes place around 3-4 weeks ahead of the other written papers. But the time gap can be even longer than that, potentially, and that can vary as well. And it's also somewhat on the spot, somewhat more on the spot than the written papers. At least that's how students tend to feel about it. That's why it can feel more stressful and more nerve wracking than other parts of your Spanish GCSE or iGCSE exams. Students crucially get 10 to 15 minutes of preparation time. That means that before your speaking exam actually starts and before you go into the room where your speaking exam will take place, you have 10 to 15 minutes. The exact duration depends on your exam board and also potentially on whether you're doing foundation or higher tier. Um, you'll get 10 to 15 minutes of preparation time, which is just you sitting alone in a room, potentially with one or two other students too, and an invigilator whose job is to make sure that you do not cheat at all. And during that preparation time, you're, of course, not allowed to look up anything on the internet or use a dictionary at all. And you will already, by that point, have with you your candidate cards for the role play, uh, reading aloud task, and photo card, or whichever of those three tasks you are required to do for your speaking test. And you'll get 10 to 15 minutes to prepare all of those tasks and prepare for everything in your speaking exam as much as possible. So this is something that really separates candidates, which is basically how well you use and how efficiently you use that preparation time. And I'll show you shortly exactly what I would do in that preparation time. There is plenty to do, but certainly try to make sure that you're entering the actual speaking exam as prepared and as confident as you possibly could be. So here are some top tips for the Spanish GCSE and iGCSE speaking test. Make full use of the preparation time. As mentioned, this can really make a difference between different students and directly affect your grade. So I'll share some tips for what to do in your preparation time a little bit later on in the video, but certainly try to make full use of that preparation time. Try not to just stare blankly into space or spend that limited time because it's only 10 to 15 minutes doing things that are not entirely useful. Another top tip is to memorize key phrases. This is something I talk about a lot and something I heartily recommend to all students for language GCSE or iGCSE exams. Key phrases are essentially a bunch of phrases, perhaps 5 to 10 phrases at most, that you can memorize, even possibly a day or two before your actual speaking test, which already contain more complex grammatical structures. So they could, for Spanish, for instance, contain subjunctive verb forms or if clauses or quite a few other things. And this allows you to, as long as you can retain and memorize these phrases, this allows you to use more complex grammar in your speaking test. And regardless of which level you're at, what your target grade is, or what exam board you're taking, this can really help to directly make a difference, a positive difference, of course, to your grades. So I highly recommend doing that. It shouldn't take too long, it'd be too onerous either, to memorize just 5 to 10 key phrases that can stay in your short-term memory. So make sure that you do not leave that out. This is also a way of getting around potentially trying to memorize or perfect some of the really hard parts of Spanish grammar. You can use key phrases which contain more complex or advanced grammar forms instead. Likewise, I would definitely learn topic-specific vocabulary. Students are often tempted to just skip revising certain topics or vocab for certain topics and to just try and predict what topics may come up in your exam, but you can't really do so. There's no way of knowing before you go into the speaking exam at all, or before you start your preparation time. You don't know what topics will come up for you. So do use resources like Quizlet, Memrise. There are many others as well to revise topic-specific vocabulary across the board for all the topics. And the topic areas for your exam board will be written on the website of your exam board as well, in case you want to double check. There are some differences from exam board to exam board, but actually in terms of topic areas, there is very significant overlap. And last of all, try to remember that the examiner is actually on your side. It often doesn't feel like it, particularly in the heat of the moment, when you're feeling nervous, which is definitely expected too. But the examiner actually generally wants you to do well and to score as highly as you can. And they will try and often help you in subtle ways too. So look out for the examiner's body language and for their gestures too. They may well indicate to you whether they want you to speed up or to say a bit more, or whether they want you to stop talking or slow down potentially as well. You may be able to tell from their facial expressions how your answer is as well. So try and watch out for these cues. They can be quite useful, and try to remember the examiner isn't actually your enemy. They're generally on your side. Okay, a few more tips here on the speaking test. The first one seems extremely obvious, but it can happen that people forget this. So speak in Spanish, not in English, particularly when students are flustered and they fail to understand something that the examiner has said. It actually certainly can happen that they resort to English instead of using Spanish. And of course, that can look quite bad. So it's a Spanish speaking test. So it is important that you stick with using Spanish throughout the exam, even if you're quite stuck. It is okay to, of course, ask the examiner to repeat what they've said within reason. Try not to ask too many times, but you certainly can ask once or twice. You can ask them to repeat a question. So try to stick with Spanish for that. So say something like, "Puede repetir, por favor?" Could you repeat, please, in Spanish rather than in English? You really shouldn't be using English in the Spanish speaking test at all. And try and stick with that and make sure you're aware of that, even if nerves can set in. Make sure you understand the differences between each part of the Spanish GCSE or iGCSE speaking exam. That is also very important. And the videos that I've made separately on each of the different parts of the speaking exam should be really useful for that too. And practice using past paper materials. That is usually the best way of practicing. The materials can be a little bit more limited for, say, newer parts of the exam, such as if there's been a change for exams, like there has been for certain exam boards for AQA and Pearson and Excel GCSE. The format has changed for their speaking test a little from 2026 onwards. But there should be past paper materials or sample materials available online. There are several websites that have many of these, and the website of your exam board is a great place to start too. And these are often the best materials to revise from. Okay, now let's look in more detail at the preparation time. So the preparation time again means those 10 to 15 minutes, depending on your exam board and whether you're doing foundation or higher tier, that you get to prepare with an invigilator watching and making sure you don't cheat before you actually step into your speaking exam. So if I had 10 minutes preparation time as a student, this is what I would do. You'll notice that some of these require more time than others. So first of all, I would take some time to read over the role play, reading aloud task, and photo card thoroughly. Of course, not every student has to do each of these tasks. So you'd read through all of the candidate cards that you have. If you're not doing a reading aloud task, you certainly would not have a reading aloud task card on you in that preparation time. But the first thing to do is actually read over the instructions. Students can be tempted to just leave that part out. But of course, understanding what is required from you is really crucial, as well as understanding how to actually score the marks. So I would definitely take a bit of time to read over the instructions carefully and thoroughly and understand what it is exactly that you have to do. Then I would prepare what to say for each and every part of the role play, reading aloud task, and photo card. Again, of course, delete these tasks as appropriate because not every student would have to do all of these three tasks. But it is important that you spend the bulk of that preparation time, whether it's closer to 10 minutes or closer to 15 minutes, to literally prepare for and mentally think through exactly what you're going to say for each and every part of the role play, reading aloud task, and photo card, whichever tasks you know are going to come up for you. And some parts of that role play, reading aloud task, and photo card are very likely to be unseen, which means that they will not be written on your candidate card, and you don't necessarily know what is going to come up exactly for all of those tasks. And for the unseen parts, of course, you're more limited in how you can prepare. And I would also try not to spend too much time preparing for unseen parts of the role play, reading aloud task, or photo card. I'd focus my attention in the limited time on what I definitely can prepare instead. But if you do have time still in your preparation time, you can try and anticipate what could come up in those unseen parts of your role play, reading aloud task, or photo card. Look at the other material that's there on the role play or reading aloud task or photo card. Perhaps try and predict what questions could come up. Which you cannot necessarily predict fully or accurately. But I wouldn't spend too long on that. The next point is different for different exam boards. Some exam boards do allow you to make notes, though, on a separate piece of paper. So make sure that you're aware of what the rules are for your exam board. And if you're allowed to, then I would certainly take advantage of being able to make notes on a separate piece of paper. You can normally bring those notes into the speaking exam at the start with you as well. So that can be extremely useful and a significant benefit to have notes that you've made in your preparation time with you for parts of the speaking test. If you do have the possibility of doing that, definitely don't overlook or don't neglect the possibility of making notes on a separate piece of paper. It can really make it much easier for you to remember exactly what you have to do and what to say exactly when in each of these tasks. And lastly, but certainly not least, according to me, try and take some deep breaths and try to calm yourself down before you actually enter the exam room for the speaking test. The reason why is because, as we said, the speaking test tends to be quite nerve-wracking. And so I would actually dedicate about 30 seconds to a minute, maybe, right towards the end of that preparation time, just to try and work on your mindset and make sure that you go into the exam room for the speaking test in a more positive frame of mind so that you can perform and so that you can produce as accurate Spanish as possible. You can try deep breaths, visualization techniques, whatever it is that works best for you. But I do recommend doing something a little bit just to work on your frame of mind. Okay, many students often ask me about how to revise for the Spanish GCSE or iGCSE speaking test as well. And here are a few general tips on how to do that. So certainly I'd recommend starting early. As a tutor, we very often come across students and parents that are extremely stressed as the speaking exam draws closer and closer because they feel they didn't start early enough and they now no longer have time to be able to execute and put in place a realistic plan. And they're essentially feeling very panicky and just want to cram in as much revision as possible. And that's why they've come to a tutor, for instance. So I really recommend starting early to try and reduce that stress and that panic. And likewise, try and create a solid revision plan, something that you can actually implement and something that is realistic. So there's got to be some flexibility to adapt and change that revision plan as well. But it is important that you create a revision plan. And I do have resources which contain key phrases for all languages for GCSE and iGCSE, for instance, and tips on making a revision plan too. So you can contact me for those. Similarly, it's important to understand the differences between each part of the Spanish GCSE and iGCSE speaking exam. They do not require exactly the same technique. They are somewhat different in nature. So those videos that I've created separately for each of the different parts of the Spanish GCSE or iGCSE speaking should be very useful, but make sure that you understand the differences very clearly and you know exactly how your Spanish speaking exam will work. And make sure you revise each and every topic area. It is often the case that students ask if they can leave out certain topic areas that they feel may be less likely to come up, or that they feel already very strong, that they know very well. But I wouldn't overlook anything. I would make sure to be thorough in my revision and revise vocabulary across the topic areas for your exam board. Right, so now there's just a little bit of time for a quick quiz on the Spanish GCSE or iGCSE speaking test. So, Question 1 is, how can you prepare for the role play or reading aloud task or photo card during your preparation time? This is something that I certainly did mention. Let me give you a little bit of time to think over this before I reveal the final answer. Okay, let me show the answer now for this one. So read through all of the instructions on the candidate cards first of all, of course, and try and plan, above all, try and plan exactly what you're going to say and when for every single one of these tasks that you're required to do. Very important to do that. And if you do that thoroughly, then that usually means that you are maximizing the benefit of that preparation time, which can really help and can certainly lead you to feel more relaxed. When you're actually in the speaking test as well. Okay, number 2 is true or false. So you only need to revise the topic areas that you think will come up in your speaking exam. Can you just guess or try to anticipate the topic areas, the exact topic areas that will be there for your speaking exam? Is that true or is this false? Let me reveal the answer for you just now. So this one is definitely false. Make sure to revise all the topic areas for your exam board. There can be a little bit of differences from exam board to exam board in terms of topic areas, because you cannot predict exactly which ones are going to come up in your Spanish GCSE or iGCSE speaking exam. And it's very risky to try and do so. So I would certainly revise all of the topic areas across the board. Okay, now question 3 is also true or false. And this is on the preparation time. So the preparation time before you go into your speaking exam is always between 15 and 20 minutes. So what is the duration of the preparation time just before you go into that speaking exam? This is something that was mentioned, so try to recall this. I'm going to give a little bit of time to think over it. Okay, let me show the answer then. So this one is also false. The preparation time is between 10 and 15 minutes. The exact duration really does vary from exam board to exam board. Potentially it can vary depending on whether you're taking foundation or higher tier 2. So do remember to check how it's going to work for your exam board. You can use the website of the exam board, double check with your teachers at school too. It will be somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes though. And finally, number 4, what can you do to prepare for the unseen or unpredictable elements of your speaking exam? What is it that you could potentially do to prepare for those unseen or unpredictable elements of the speaking exam during your preparation time? Is there anything you can do, and what is that potentially too? All right, let me show this answer as well. So these are, of course, naturally a lot harder to prepare for. You can, however, try and anticipate common questions that could come up, especially given the rest of the material on your candidate cards, and potentially how you'd answer those. But as I said before, I would dedicate too much time to preparing for the unseen or unpredictable elements of the speaking exam. I would stick on what you certainly do know will come up. Okay, if you have questions about any of this at all, or if you'd like to know more about more personalized help, which I do offer as well, you can get in touch by email or through Facebook or Instagram. And I post every single day on Facebook, Instagram, and even LinkedIn, sharing my passion for languages with people, encouraging them and motivating them to learn languages, and making sure they understand why they should do so, and how they can do so efficiently while having fun. But I do post a lot about GCSE and iGCSE languages too, including tips on how to revise, how to maximize your grades, how to practice exam technique, and more. So I really recommend following me on each of these platforms. I have many resources available, including free resources for GCSE and iGCSE languages, including Spanish. And I do one-to-one classes, group classes, courses, and a lot more. So don't hesitate to get in touch if you'd like to know more about any of that.